Ladies and gentlemen, there is a quiet hour, a sacred space before the world fully awakens, and in it lies the power to shape your entire day, perhaps even your life. It is not merely a matter of routine or habit. It is a ritual of the soul, an encounter with the self, where the foundation of your day is not just built, but destined. Your morning decides, not because of superstition, but because the way you greet the day is how you declare your intent to live. Let us explore 5 truths, 5 keynotes that can guide your mornings into alignment with your deeper self. Certainly, here's an expanded version of the first hour, is a mirror of the unconscious. In the same Carl Jung-inspired tone and style, but without a heading, the moment we open our eyes in the morning, something profound occurs, and yet we rarely notice it. We do not simply wake up. We return from a realm deeper than thought, from a world governed not by logic, but by symbol, by dream, by shadow and light. In sleep, we enter the unconscious, a timeless place where our hidden desires, fears, and truths swirl beneath the surface of awareness. And when we rise, that veil is still thin. This first hour of the day, fragile, unformed, quiet, is not just a transition from sleep to wakefulness. It is a passage from the depths of the soul, back into the structure of the world. And whatever we place into this passage shapes the tone and direction of all that follows. If we rush, we scatter ourselves. If we scroll, we disassociate. If we consume noise, we drown out the quiet voice trying to speak from within. Most do not realize how deeply vulnerable and suggestible the psyche is in that first hour. It is still tender, still open, still forming the narrative of the day and of the self. The symbols you engage with, whether the silence of your breath, the sunlight on your skin, or the digital chaos of headlines and messages, do not merely fill your mind. They imprint it. They begin to write the script you will follow, consciously or not. And so, the question is not, did I get up, but rather, how did I return to myself today? Did I pause? Did I listen? Did I remember that I am not just a body, not just a schedule, not just a role in the machinery of society, but a soul, entering the world once more? The first hour is not about productivity. It is about presence. It is about allowing the insights of your inner world, the whispers from the unconscious, to come with you into waking life before they are trampled by routine. It is in this quiet beginning that intuition can speak, creativity can stir, and truth can emerge. To honor this hour is to honor your own becoming. To dishonor it is to abandon yourself to habit, to distraction, to the dullness of unconscious repetition. Each morning is not just a new day, it is a rebirth. And in that birth, the way you cradle your first thoughts, the way you breathe, the way you listen, will determine not just your mood, but your alignment with your deeper self. It is not superstition, it is structure. The psyche requires grounding, and the morning offers it. If you want clarity, begin with silence. If you want direction, begin with stillness. If you want power, begin by remembering who you are before the world tells you who to be. That first hour is not just time. It is sacred space, a mirror of your unconscious, and what you place before it will be reflected back to you all day long, of course. Here is a more developed, immersive version of Ritual Grounds, the Psyche. Written in the same Carl Jung-inspired tone without headings, there is a hidden truth that modern life has all but forgotten. The human psyche does not thrive in chaos. Though the outer world moves in accelerating fragments, and we are told to adapt, to be flexible, to respond instantly, the soul moves differently. It seeks pattern, it seeks rhythm, it seeks meaning beneath repetition. And that is why ritual is not an outdated relic of the past, it is a psychological necessity. When you begin your day with a ritual, something steady, deliberate, and intentional, you are not just forming a habit. You are building a container, and the psyche, like water, needs a container to take shape. Without it, your energy spills, your thoughts scatter, your emotions become entangled in every passing moment. But with ritual, something shifts. You return to center. Even the simplest acts, lighting a candle, stretching your limbs in stillness, journaling with honesty, or making tea in silence, become anchors. They are not routines for productivity, they are ceremonies of alignment. Each repetition whispers to the deeper layers of your mind, I am here, I am safe, I remember myself. In a world of endless unpredictability, the psyche clings to what is known, not out of weakness, but out of a deep longing for rootedness. Ritual offers this. It is the symbolic act of declaring that you are not at the mercy of the external. You are not just reacting. You are choosing to respond from a place of intention, and it is in that choice that power is born. What most consider mundane, making the bed, breathing deeply, lighting incense, is far from trivial when done consciously. These rituals become archetypal movements. They align your outer actions with your inner landscape. They turn the mechanical into the meaningful, and in that transformation, you are grounded not just in the moment, but in the truth of who you are. Without ritual, you begin the day fragmented. You absorb the noise of the world before you've heard the music of your own soul. You open yourself to a flood of demands before you've remembered your direction. But when you ground yourself through ritual, you become like a tree whose roots run deep. The winds may come, the noise may rise, but you remain unmoved. Ritual is a language older than words. It is how the unconscious recognizes safety. It is how the symbolic self knows it has not been abandoned. And when practiced sincerely, it does not limit you, it liberates you. Because from a grounded psyche comes clarity. From clarity comes strength. And from strength, the ability to move through the world not as a stranger to yourself, but as someone deeply at home within. So return to your rituals, not for the sake of control, but for the sake of communion. Communion with the self that waits for you each morning, quietly asking, will you meet me here? Will you begin in sacred rhythm or be swept away again? The answer lies in what you choose to do first and whether you do it with reverence. Certainly, here is the expanded version of the mood you choose is the archetype you wear. Written in a Carl Jung-inspired style without a heading, every morning, often without realizing it, you clothe yourself in a mood not unlike slipping on a coat before stepping into the day. But this mood is not just emotion. It is the color of your perception, the posture of your presence, the lens through which you interpret what happens to you. And more deeply still, it is a summons to a particular archetype within your psyche, a timeless pattern, a character that waits in the wings for your cue to step forward and take the stage. You do not enter the world as a blank slate each day. You emerge into it with a certain energy. This energy, whether anxious or calm, bitter or grateful, resigned or hopeful, is the soil in which your thoughts take root, and whatever you cultivate in that soil becomes your dominant mode of being. A mood, then, is not a passive condition. It is a signal, a summoning of forces within you, ancient and autonomous, that begin to shape your behavior, your decisions, your very fate. If you rise burdened by resentment or fear, you may unknowingly call forth the victim, the shadowed dweller, the cynic, and they will interpret your encounters through their narrowed eyes. Every conversation will feel like a threat. Every challenge a personal insult. But if you rise in courage, in reverence, in stillness, you invite the warrior, the sage, the creator, and these are not fantasies. These are facets of your deeper self, each holding a worldview, each carrying a particular voice. You may think you are simply in a mood, but in truth, you have allowed a mythic figure to enter the scene of your life. The danger lies in unawareness, for when you do not consciously choose the mood, when you do not meet the morning with discernment, the unconscious chooses for you. It selects from its vast storehouse of memories, complexes, and traumas the archetype that best suits your unresolved story. And so, you must ask yourself, what energy am I wearing today? Whose story am I reenacting? Did I choose this role, or was it inherited from the ghost of yesterday? To pause in the morning and breathe deeply, to check in with yourself and set an emotional tone, this is not a shallow practice. It is the act of authorship. It is how you determine which part of you will lead. It is not about pretending. It is not about forcing positivity. It is about becoming conscious of the role you are allowing to dominate your psyche, and then aligning it with your deeper purpose. There is an alchemical power in morning intention, for if you set your tone with truth, not fantasy, but sincere presence, you can choose which force within you steps forward, and when you do, your world responds accordingly. The mood becomes a magnet. The archetype becomes the conductor of your inner orchestra, and your day becomes not a series of random events, but a coherent narrative shaped by conscious presence. To live unconsciously is to be possessed not by spirits, but by moods and patterns you never chose. But to rise each day and meet your own state of being with clarity, that is to become the master of your inner myth. That is to wear your energy with intention, and in doing so, to shape your outer world from the inside out. Certainly, here is the expanded version of your morning, is the threshold of transformation. In the same Carl Jung-inspired tone without a heading, each morning is more than a beginning, it is a threshold, a crossing from the unknown into the known, from the symbolic night into the structured day. It is not merely a restart of routine, but a ritual rebirth, and how you step across that threshold determines not only what you encounter, but who you become in response to it. The night leaves traces. Dreams, fragments of insight, unspoken truths rise up while the conscious mind sleeps. You awaken not empty, but full of whispers from the unconscious, full of unresolved energies from the day before, full of potential yet unshaped. That moment, when your eyes open and you return to the world, is a sacred one. It is as if the psyche, having wandered in the wilderness of the soul, returns to the shore of waking life with treasures hidden in its hands. But if you rush across the threshold too quickly, you drop them before ever knowing what they were. Transformation never arrives all at once. It does not crash down like lightning. It moves like water over stone, slow and deliberate, but it always begins with awareness. And in the morning, you are given the rarest of gifts, a moment in which awareness is untouched, soft, pliable. It is there, in that fragile space before demands intrude, that your power is most alive. You are neither entirely who you were, nor yet who you are becoming. You stand between the two, and from this in-between place, true change can occur. Most walk blindly past this moment. They awaken and rush not just physically, but psychologically into activity, into expectation, into performance. But the soul does not respond to speed. It responds to reverence, and when you greet your morning as a sacred threshold, not a mechanical task, something ancient stirs. You remember that you are not only a worker, a parent, a planner, a name on a schedule. You are also a becoming, a consciousness in motion, capable of turning the mundane into meaning and the ordinary into initiation. Transformation begins when you stop treating the morning as something to survive and start treating it as something to embody. Sit with it, feel it, let the stillness inform you, let the quiet speak. Let the breath anchor you to the truth that you are not here merely to repeat, you are here to renew. And no matter how chaotic your past has been, the morning does not care. It opens for you anyway, patiently offering the path again. This is not about perfection. It is not about always waking with fire in your chest or clarity in your mind. Some mornings will be heavy, some confused. But even then, especially then, the threshold is there, waiting. Waiting for you to choose. Will you cross with intention, or will you stumble into repetition? If you cross with intention, if you meet the day not as a prisoner of habit, but as a soul aware of its becoming, you begin to shape your life from the inside out. You carry the energy of rebirth with you not because anything external has changed, but because you have chosen to change the posture of your presence. In closing, if you lose your morning, you lose your alignment. But if you win it not by force, but by reverence, you awaken the inner kingdom. Do not chase time, do not scroll into being, sit with yourself, listen, declare, create, and the day will rise to meet you, not as an enemy, but as an ally. Your morning decides, because you decide who you are in the morning. Thank you. And that is how transformation begins, quietly, gently, in the first moments of the day, when the soul leans forward and whispers, "We can begin again if you're willing."